Digital transformation is a paradigm shift from a traditional approach of strategic business operations to a new culture of agile leadership, innovation, and thinking through technology change. That all sounds great, but many organizations still struggle with common IT challenges that preclude them from completing the digital transformation journey. To discuss this in detail, we are joined by a panel of experts: Amrita Sharan, CHRO, Air India; VK Singh, Director HR, Power Grid Corporations of India Limited. I would like to invite Dr. Akal Busrai, CEO, Akal Busrai Consulting, to moderate this panel discussion on overcoming digital roadblocks and diving into future.
Greetings from the ETHR world. It's a privilege to be here with two very prominent leaders from public sector HR. And first of all, thanks to ETHR world for putting this type of platforms together. It's a big learning for many of us who sometimes get an insight into an area where we have missed out in the past. The topic of digitalization has been talked about for last couple of years, almost as a routine in all conferences. And I think many times we in HR pick up a subject and beat it to literally to death, whether it was VUCA about 5-7 years ago, whether it is engagement, or now it is digitalization. But not running down the emphasis that we in HR give to certain subject, but the digitalization has changed the way HR works. More important, it has changed the way business gets benefit of HR. So the traditional HR way of just giving advice and putting out fires, more reactive role has been replaced by a proactive role. And that proactive role has been facilitated by having digitalization come in a very big way in the HR community. It is not only proactiveness in just taking decisions, but also predictive analysis that is done through digitalization. I had the privilege to work in IBM, and we use extensive amount of digitalization for almost every aspect of HR: talent management, retention. Same thing we did it in when I was in Shell Malaysia. A lot of digitalization come, but now the digitalization process has set grounds. Many companies have embraced it. Some of them have honestly embraced it because others are doing it. Some of them have actually seen the value and taken them in a stride as a part of the business strategy. And we'd like to actually cover that area, that what is it that makes us go for digitalization and why now, just because is it available? Is it necessary? And if you look at some of the areas on which digitalization, the routine work has gone away many years ago out of HR domain. But what do you do with the free time? And that is the crux. Are HR people engaging in business? Are they shaping business future? Are they in any way impacting the bottom line? Are they impacting the end user, the consumer of the product? Or do they think my customer is only my line manager? I think some of these issues are being revisited, and rightly so, because HR's own world has expanded to go beyond this sphere of influence that has been allotted to it so far. Now, whether digitalization happens because it is a fad, and I'd say with a lot of respect, or is it required, is something we have to decide in the context of the organization. But I feel digitalization has made HR's contribution more meaningful. It has made them more alert to what is the potential of their thinking and spatialization. A predictive analysis of attrition, initially we thought that could not be done, but it can be almost done to the accuracy of almost 50 to 60%, which itself is a big thing to retain high potential talent. These are just one or two examples. In terms of employee engagement, in terms of connection, in terms of taking known decision, knowledgeable decision, providing that data, information analysis, and using the AI piece sensibly has made HR contribute more meaningfully to the business world. So with those few opening remarks, I will now like to invite Amrita She is the HR head for Air India, and one of those people who have been reputed to push for modernization, digitalization, and very successfully doing so. So we will like to hear her views on digitalization in general, and then to go to Mr. V.K. Singh from Power Grid. And so, Amrita, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be a part of such discussions, which is so meaningful now. When I am from Air India and from aviation, so digitization or technically being a little savvy has been there in the blood, despite being a public sector. We can't afford not to be up to date with the technology, especially when our airplanes are being modernized every day and we fly, the kind of connectivity, everything is based on technology. Saying all that, we have the legacy of being a public sector. So HR part, digitizing HR part, although we started very early, we started SAP system, we started all that, but the intention or the earnestness with which we were doing it had a lot of scope, you know. Today we can claim that all my systems are on online, like my leave application, my welfare, everything is online. The systems are there in place, but how much do we use it in a proper sense is, you know, has a lot to be desired. But you know, I just remember it was, I think, around 2017, 4 years back. It was Vineet Nair and there was some Richard. It was that 14th National HRM Summit conducted by IMA. There, Vineet Nair had said that HR in 2020 will be obsolete. You know, the people won't be there at all. So, something like that, a dramatic...
Richard Rekhi was the other gentleman.
Rekhi was there, and it was Vineet Nair who had said that HR will get obsolete in 2020. And behold, we had 2020, and what happened to HR? I think HR just bounced back in 2020. HR bounced back because, okay, digitization is one part, you know, the kind of difference human resource makes to the whole thing, the competitive advantage that this extends compared to anything. You know, the systems are the same, especially in my industry, fuel management same, flight management same. All these other aspects of business are more or less the same. Sales you can improve, but everything is online now. The only edge that happens is HR. HR brings in the competitive value. So I never feel that HR will really get obsolete. But coming back to digitization, what has digitization helped us in aviation, in Air India? You know, I've got lots to talk about because Air India has gone through so many ups and downs. Air India was a monopoly industry. It opened up. So we had people, the competition around. See, I'm just talking about what all HR, my people have gone through. The competition part came up and good, nice, comfortable job became a little insecure. Then we went through a very low phase and so far, see, we've been government-sponsored, totally government-owned airline, but we were making our own money to do things the way we wanted to do. So that liberty was there as long as we were making money. So 1991, 97, we made money and we were free to do all the experiments and everything. And then we had the second round of privatization happening. Then we had merger coming up. Merger was a major story. Then we had 3 exercises of disinvestment. Now, in all these exercises, one person who could afford to be disturbed was the human resource. Rest on my machine, my other organization, everything could be handled, but the person who got disturbed was human resource. Now here, you know, even understanding the disturbance and all, digitization played a major role. Because, you know, it was only through when they used to, when you used to speak out in it was very difficult to get all the application or read by hand whatever they have written. We used to get 50,000 grievances, 60,000 grievances. Now, all that could be rationalized only with the system that we put in place, that is digitization happened. There it helped. The numbers helped. The number we could count only because, see, we needed to know the kind of skills we have, the people who may like to leave us. All those numbers we could play with because it was a bit
okay.
Nice. And
what number of employees you have? number of employees in Air India?
Right now, we have got just 13,000. That time it was 25,000. Now we hadn't had any recruitment, so it has come back, and now we are resorting to FTCs. My numbers have really come down. It's really so. My digitization has been two things which has affected us was this kind of variation in our functions, and second was our top was always for a period of 2 years. My top management, my CMD has been there for 2 years, then another CMD with 2 years. So that emphasis. See, digitization can be driven only from the top. The top people have to say that the system has to be laid down, the system has to be bought, SAP has to be bought, has to be updated, all comes from the top system. So there's been one function there that my top has been, they have been very good top management, but they have had different views on even on digitization. So that has given the variation here. But the second thing was the age profile. My age, we haven't had proper induction. Only for flight cabin crew and pilots, we have been having regular induction. But my age profile right now is 52 is my average age of employees who compete with all the youngsters of Indigo and all. So this has also happened because of digitization. Whatever happened, whatever this digitization happened, we could see the skill part of the people, what is the qualification of the people, and who can be trained and upskilled to handle the current situation.
We'll come back to that, Amrita. Very, very good, insightful start. VK, would you like to go next, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bustari. It's a pleasure to be part of this discussion. And I represent Power Grid Corporation of India, which is we have a turnover of 38,000 crore, profit of 12,000 crore per person. Contribution is about 4.5 crore per person. Profit is about 1.25 crore. We have second biggest in terms of gross block, in terms of assets of 2,20,000 crores. And our journey, this all we have achieved in last 30 years. In 1989, we started our business. And in 30 years, we are a Maharatna company and with a very high, and if I recall my journey in 1989, we were only hardly 7,000 people and with 35,000 kilometer transmission line. Today, we are transmitting more than 51% of power generated in India. And in 30 years time, we have, in terms of manpower, we have marginally grown. Today, we have a manpower of 8,000, around 8,000. So in all financial parameter, although we have grown more than 500 to 1,000%, but in terms of manpower, we could grow marginally only because of high infusion of technology. That's only when we are growing at such a fast speed and still remaining a very slim organization, it's only possible when you adopt all kind of tech. We are a brick and mortar company with a high infusion of technology. As regard HR is concerned, I'll take my journey. We were as good as bad as any government organization, but we started our journey in 2006 with HRIS system. Then in 2014, we adopted SAP. After that, all data were connected and integrated. And from there, we continued to move on with our journey of digital. And it is not, we realize that we are not transforming, the technology itself is transforming people. What happens, initially you transform the people for technology, and later on that technology start transforming the organizations. And that's what we have seen in this organization. Today, our entire manpower, HR processes are digital. You need not come to HR for anything. It's all sitting away from your home or office, anywhere you can apply. It's a virtual. And as far as e-office was concerned, where offices, and we realized a lot of things we learned in COVID. In last 1 year, we have changed a lot. We realized there were 100 more ways to use technology and going virtual. And that I would like to speak later on. This 1 year changes totally in terms of policy, procedure, system, strategy. We started doing many things which were not doing using technology. And we could realize that, yes, there we can make extensive use of technology. So today with the SAP, and we have lot many in terms of, if I see operation, we have lot many own developed system, which are monitoring the health system of all major equipments. and not only health indexing, but all AMC plans of all transformer, reactor, major equipment you can monitor. I mean, lakhs of equipments. Then we have geographically tagged all transmission line. You can see anytime you want to see. Then we created transmission management. Remotely we are controlling. I tell you how we could manage from 7,000 to 8,000 only, because had we been using the same manpower norms which we were using in 1989, today probably would have been needing more than 1 lakh people. So just imagine with user now, where we were using 100 people, we came down to 80, 40, 20, and many places now we are doing with 0. So that is the use of digital, where we are monitoring most of the things, majority of the things digitally, whether in terms of operation or in terms of constructions or in terms of finances. Like finance, we have a bill factory system. From anywhere you can download the bill and they are processed at a centralized location. Similarly, for the employee claims and lot many apps we have developed, a number of apps. I will focus on my second round of discussion. So this is the digital journey in Power Grid. And I attribute the entire success of being Maharatna only on the basis of because we could adopt to the best technology in the world, and not only adopting the best technology, but creating our own technology. Every year we are coming out with more than 60 new innovations. We are awarding those innovations done by employees. We understand the innovation can be done by only by the people who are closer to work, not at the people at the top or somewhere. And it is happening every year. Every year we are awarding about 10,
And this innovation is within Power Grid itself?
Innovations are all in, and most of the things I'm talking about, other than SAP, most of the apps are developed in-house. This is also, I mean,
excellent.
Not spend much money also on that, saving a lot of money also in terms of going digitalization. At the same time, we were converting, we were rolling out, and the COVID time, we realized that, yes, this is time when people could learn. We nominated 100
you took the advantage of this.
Artificial learning and machine intelligence from IIT Bangalore. That we have already nominated people. So that is our journey we are planning. And the digital has played a very vital role in transforming the company.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, VK, for sharing. And Amrita, you too. Now, both of you are stalwarts in public sector. So my question, there is a true misperception in minds of many HR professionals. One misconception is that public sector doesn't have to worry about money because they get free budget. How far is it true, Amrita?
It is not. I mean, right now, the state that we are in, money is a major constraint that we have. And everything has come to a standstill because of, I mean, aviation, airlines have got no money. And now, there was a time when we were making money, so we could do, we did digitization, we spent on HR, we spent on everything. Today, we don't have money. And
earlier is the misconception that PSU organization didn't have to worry about investment in technology because they had a lot of money. Is it true? Earlier?
No. Not at all.
Mr. Buswai, I must say that.
Do you agree with that?
You have to earn your own money. Every penny needs to be earned. Whether you are in a public sector or a private sector, the rules of the game are same. You don't get, nowadays, government doesn't grant you whatever you need to do on your own. You need to generate your own money. So it's a very good financial system you need for that. I mean, very good financial planning also. Today, we are almost competing with all stalwarts in the business market in transmission. You name the big houses, they are there in competition with us. And we are not only in India, we have a footprint in 21 countries, and where we are doing a lot of consultancy work. We have about 600 crores of consultancy alone. So that's how you have to make a niche area in each. Like we moved into
telecom. You earn the money to spend. So that's why I very carefully use the word misconception.
There's a highly
true that public sector have free blank check.
I tell you, rules of the game are same, whether you work in public sector or private sector. You have to earn your own money. Your own schemes, your own
Now the second observation.
Earning part here, I just want to add one thing. You know, the kind of wage deductions we have done because we don't have money. 40% of the salary of my pilots have been cut because we don't have money. So it's that, and that's why we are going for disinvestment also, because aviation as it is not earning at all.
It's a tight spot for you.
But Mr. Buswai,
especially last year has been bigger challenge.
I'll comment on that. We paid extra during COVID to all our contractual labor. We realized they are the frontline worker. We had to continue. We are in the existing, essential services. We could not stop even for a second. So we realized we paid our contractual worker 250 rupees per day extra during the COVID pandemic.
Where did the money come from?
Money comes from our own account. I mean,
Money.
it is not. When you generate a profit of 12,000 crore, you can spend
Right.
to motivate.
Now, a lot of public sector have done amazingly good work in HR in terms of processes. And I mean, if you take examples of NTPC, Indian Oil, I mean, their attrition is less than 1.5%, which many private sector, including multinationals, would give the right arm for. How is it that public sector people don't really demonstrate or talk about this and deprive the other HR community of learning? Is there any reason which makes public sector so modest that they don't see it necessary to share the best practices? BK?
Yeah, I think it is their public sector people don't share their success story, their system processes, strategy. That's why we do a lot. I mean, if you see Power Grid as such, we are a great success story. Even if you see the financial parameter, we are among top 5 corporate in this world.
Why are you not sharing that so others can learn? What prevents public sector? I'm not talking about Power Grid alone, just to be sure.
Yeah, we do share a lot. I mean, it is not that but we need more sharing our best practices.
So, Amrita, you said earlier it was all HRIS, etc. You went into much earlier than other public sector in terms of digitization. What was the trigger point to bring digitization in HR?
For any system, if you want to make it efficient, reliable, economical, you have to, things which you were doing earlier manually, if you allow people to do same thing manually, then, its cost is very predictable. Digital is economical, actually. It is not only...
So it was economy of scale and operation. Amrita, what was your trigger point?
In my situation, it happened mainly because there was a total ban on recruitment. So my manpower was really dwindling. So the only thing I could do was to have HR, the routine work, like, leave application, the recruitment, all the routine, and which is a very repetitive and routine work being taken over by digitization. So because I was not able to recruit people. And if I wanted to recruit, I wanted more pilots, more cabin people. I couldn't have more on personal and finance, more on non-operation. So that really triggered off. And plus, whatever it is, aviation, since the beginning, we have been on CRT, we have been there. So and we have a full IT department. So in-house, we used to do it in-house primarily, all our processes. Now we went into SAP and did the digitization. Now everything, all my passage, my leave, everything is on digitized.
While doing this, Amrita, and I have a lot of respect for unions, so please take this thing in the same way. Was there any passive or active resistance, so to say, or discomfort from employees that you are going digitization, which will reduce our manpower? Did you face anything like that?
Not exactly. I think this Air India has a different character altogether. We have got craft-based unions. We have got pilots, one union. We have got engineers, one union. We have got, other than general category, one union. Now here, and all our work practices, your salary, your work practice, everything comes through negotiation. It's always a negotiation which takes it forward. So the work practices and all were negotiated. We wanted to talk to them that this is how we want to take it forward and what are the benefits. We could sell them the benefits. So it was mutually agreed to have this. So we never had any objection to digitization as such. But yes,
the credit for that should go to the union leaders and the employees for understanding the need of the organization.
And see, our intention was never to replace manpower. It was never that we wanted to feel that we wanted to lessen, like in Power Grid, they were consciously not trying to increase the numbers. For us, it was forced upon us because there was a ban on recruitment. So we could not increase the numbers. So we wanted to make best of whatever we could do right now with the existing
Okay, so I mean, it's a good cooperative model that you have. VK, coming to the similar line of question, you said if we had not digitized, we would have been 1 lakh employees, 100,000 employees, and now we are only 35,000.
No, we have only 8,000 people.
Sorry?
Only 8,000 people.
and you could have been about 10 times that number.
Yeah, 10 times would have been more actually had we not used
So,
technology.
do people feel that being a public sector, looking after public interests as the perception, you have literally deprived employment opportunities? Do you agree with that view?
No, it is not that. Efficiency matters more than giving opportunity. I mean, government has itself taken up this norm. These social norms have been no more valid on us because you have to thrive on your profitability. So,
It's a
like
simple.
we had luxury of recruiting, we could have recruited. My manpower budget today is 12,000. But there is a fun in working with less. I tell you, it's a
Yes.
much smarter way always to do with less people.
And that's a very right approach. You run the business in the most optimal manner with both, and not just because you have approval for 12,000, you go and spend that budget. Very well said,
It's
sir.
important to get the same thing done by lesser people, multi-skilling them.
Very good.
continuously
So,
updating
sir, tell
them.
me, what type of training do you do to your older staff? And Amrita, this I'll come to you also, same question, because you have bigger chunk of tenured staff. So we can first you, what type of training or updation you do for people who are there with you long time and at a particular age group, which is not millennial?
I think what is the assumption? Do you mean they are not technology savvy? Is
No,
it
no, no. How do you do that? How do you train them?
how do we train? We have a training at each level. Any level you reach, there is a first. There any matrices you change. I mean, then the training is an integral part of that. I mean, you move from one level to other level, one department to other level, so there is a
Do
training.
you make it a criteria for promotion?
Yeah, there's a development program for promotion also, before promotion, after promotion. So there are a lot of training activities. We have a mandate that will give minimum 5 days days training to each employee. That's all.
And have you seen that generation of people who've been with you very long transform themselves?
see, I mean, when I told you we have very smart people and we have made them smart. We have forced them to all smartness possible. And that is how, we got away of many roles which we found redundant, like secretaries, stenographers, lot many roles. We changed them, we redesignated them so that they are more utilized. I mean, with digitalization, there were lot many roles which were not useful.
So you combined use of technology with change of roles also.
Yeah. With digital technology changing, people designations were also changing. That is what we did.
Absolutely. Very, very smart way, like you to use your word, smart way to run the business.
I mean, it's not, we never got rid of any person. I mean, only we trained them, retrained them, and engaged them. That is what we did.
Thank you, VK.
And that's
Amrita,
what
you mentioned.
That's
Yeah,
what
thank
we
you, sir.
got to do award for the best training organization in Asia. For
Congratulations.
for
Congratulations.
transforming 3,000 workmen.
Yeah.
Congratulations, sir. So, Amrita, you mentioned that you do have employees who've been there long enough, and you mentioned one of the airlines which has an advantage of young, agile, so-called agile workforce, not necessarily so, but so-called.
Yeah.
How do you make this tenured employees feel comfortable and secure, yet learn new thing using technology? I'm referring specifically to digitalization.
I won't say that, for us, people have been here, they retire, they join and they retire. Attrition rate is hardly there, it's 0.9% or something, very, very low in Air India. People really live, and we have colonies where generations of people have been there together. So it's become a family business. Basically, it's especially pilots, a father will also be a pilot, the son will also be a pilot, cabin crew flying. So it's basically a family business which has come in here. Now, what we have done is that, as repeat in other general category, we were not allowed to have recruitment. We could not recruit people. So what has happened that we have started doing redeployment of people. Like we have, so when redeploy said from non-operational area, we have been redeploying. We issued billing voluntarily redeployment, and then when they are redeployed, we train them for that particular post. So
For the new role.
For that new role. So this upgrading of skill, and we have our own MTC, Management Training Center in Hyderabad, the two big major schools that we have. So there we do regular training for them. See, in any case, for our pilots and cabin crew, as per requirement, we need to have a school where they
that's mandatory.
training center for them to be trained and upgraded and kept abreast. something very interesting has happened in our organization. You know, in this organization, when there's 30, 40 years, you realize that this perennial, the word has come, the perennial workforce. We
Yes,
have
yes.
come into the perennial workforce, you know. The same workforce, you've got the son, the father flying, the son flying, and now the grandson is joined. Because they
Wow.
joined at the age of 18, 19 as a pilot, you know. So the grandson is joined and the son is flying, who's about 50, 55, and 60 till 65, a pilot can fly. So this three generations working together, it's a beautiful synergy, you know. So it's a perennial workforce which has
So
come.
that reminds me, Amrita, to ask you a side question. You talked about father, son, and grandson. You missed out girls completely.
Yeah, it is. I didn't
You
get it.
missed out women.
No. I mean, yeah, it's talking general.
So on a serious note, do you have any training program to upgrade women's skill?
See, for us, women is about, I mean, where it is about 30% of our workforce. So we do not have that issue at all.
You
Women
don't have.
integral part of our workforce. Wherever you go, it's about 20-30% of my workforce is women.
Okay.
When we talk about employee, we talk about women in general. But yes,
No,
women,
I'm aware of that.
yeah.
Do
And
you
my board of directors,
digitalization, any special effort made to make women more digital savvy?
digitization, women are equally good. I mean, if my IT department has got 30% women,
Okay.
pilot, they've got women all over. In my
Okay.
office, if you go, there'll be women. 20% of my workforce, 25% of my workforce is women. So we never had to differentiate. It was totally all of them coming together. And maybe, you know, it's a generation thing coming up. So the children, the daughters joined the organization, but not like that. But we have been very conscious of taking women in the workforce. And
Thank
if you
you.
see my,
We
even
can-
at the board level, as a board level functional director, out of 4 board members, 2 are women. You know, my
Oh, that's commendable. That's commendable.
director personal is a woman. So that diversity is
No,
very
that the public knowledge is commendable. VK, coming to you, and I know we'll go to the last question and run around. What are the particular difficulties have you faced in digitalization? Any particular difficulties or challenges that you have faced?
Only difficulty is somewhat aging population where, I mean, I'm mentally ready to change. Technology is changing very fast. So as a younger generation, we won't find much problem changing them. But yes, of course,
The aged
because there is an issue. People don't learn so easily. That's
So very briefly, how do you handle that little bit of passive resistance or reluctance? I
there's
wouldn't say
no
resistance,
only
reluctance.
there's no resistance, but they take time in learning. They need their own space,
Time to learn.
own.
Okay.
It's not like youngster. You can train them online, virtual, anywhere. But
So let me ask a very personal question. You can skip it if you want. What have you done in terms of upgrading your technical skill while you're working with Power Grid?
Myself,
Yeah. Have you gone through any training?
I was in charge of training. I tell you, training is a different thing altogether. We have a 20 crore business on training itself. We have training more than 14 countries and more than 14 national utilities in India.
And you
So,
participated
it's
in
not that
training
we are
program
training our
yourself?
own people. We get people from outside also. So
No, but you have participated also as a
I
leader?
was in charge of training, and with that, I was instrumental not only conducting training, also
No,
participating.
my question was, have you upgraded yourself by receiving
I've
training?
done a lot of courses from all premier IIMs and
So
continue.
no hesitation at your senior level to go. Amrita, have you also upgraded yourself and participating in training program?
Yeah, participating in training program, yes. But I won't say I'm really very
But you are, the question was, are you setting example by leadership?
So the example by leadership is by utilizing I mean, using the facilities that we provide, like leave application, like Passage. Everything is online, so I do it online now.
You do
We
it
don't
online.
have to go to any
Excellent.
HR office to
With
get
the
to-
time that we had, you people have, both of you have done justice to the subject. But before we close, less than 5 words. What is your mantra to PS, in particular in PSU context, to make utilize the digitalization most effectively? Less than 5 words. Vika, you go first.
Just tell your employees you can do anything. Simple.
But this is 9 words.
5 words, a woman. It's fabulous.
Thank you, VK. That's a good answer. Amrita?
Life is easy with digitization. Life is so easy and comfortable with digitization. But the only fear that is people have that digitization is going to replace manpower, that will not happen. Digitization is only which can take HR to the level of where everybody can sit together and discuss, because that gives you the power to realize that your internal customer is taken care of. So you go to concentrate on your external customer.
Excellent. I like the way both of you came out so candidly with your views and so openly. So let us sign off. I'm Dr. Akhil Basrai, the privilege to be on the advisory board of ETHR World. And I've been an HR person with IBM, Unilever, Motorola, and Shell. And it was a privilege for me to interact with Mr. VK Singh and Amrita of Air India today. Would you like to say some last words, Amrita, before we close off?
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be on these.
Thank you. VK?
Thanks, but miles to go still, industrial journey.
Thank you. You guys are very interactive and very open to sharing your knowledge and experience and insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for your valuable inputs. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot more stored for you. Keep tweeting your experience and learning on social media using the hashtag ETHRNextTech. Stay tuned.